Hello and welcome to the first edition of our Enterprise UX series, where we explore the impact that great user experience can have on enterprise solutions for functions across the business, from sales to customer service, HR, finance and wider operations. Our first edition though will focus on the sales function. My name is Andy Stevens. I'm the co-founder and director at Boxfusion, and I'll be your host today. The next 45 minutes or so, we're going to hear from Dan Raper, Hillel Cooperman, Gavin Dimmock, Darren Nisbet and John Vakoch. And as a reminder of the agenda as we jump into the session, I want to get one thing out of the way right at the start, a little bit of jargon. So you're going to hear us refer today to CRM or CX applications, specifically through the context of salespeople interacting with them. And we'll probably use these terms interchangeably. But at a high level, what we're referring to is applications that support sales teams selling and providing insights into customer behavior, engagement with the company, and then the full sales life cycle. I personally tend to consider CRM to be a system-centric term, while CX goes further into the emotional connection with customers and supporting ways to delight and build loyalty with customers. But for today's discussion topic, they can be seen as one and the same. So we all know that it can be challenging to get salespeople to adopt CRM applications to log deals and log sales activity, keep them updated. And this then leads to a lack of reliable insights. And even if salespeople do use the applications, it will tend to be in a limited way. After all, they're incentivized to sell. And so entering data into a glorified spreadsheet, as a CRM can sometimes appear, will not feel like it's adding value or helping them do their job better. But often the tools do actually have great features that can help them. They're often not utilized or available in the most accessible way. And the impacts of this can then have a ripple effect. So what about sales managers? Many will identify with needing to spend a lot of time focused on internal activities, admin, and rather than external facing sales-driven activity like strategic planning or coaching of the team. And we believe at the heart of the issue is a lack of consideration for user experience. So taking consideration of how people work, how the use of tools align with that way of working, people's skill sets, and alignment with expectations of them to sell. And often this ends up in overly complicated solutions which require significant training effort, and then investments in training, as opposed to in user experience and building more intuitive solutions, regularly do not pay back, with salespeople forgetting the training, defaulting to other behavior, which is at odds with the company's hoped for behaviors. So with CRM or CX being enterprise applications used by businesses the world over, when it comes to user experience within that space, what we're talking about is enterprise UX. Now, before we get back to the sales users and sales teams, we wanted to bring in our user experience lead at Boxfusion, Dan Raper, to set the scene and explain what enterprise UX is and why it's important. Over to you, Dan.
Thanks, Andy. So simply put, enterprise UX is all about designing applications for employees. It deals with making the internal systems people use to do their jobs easy and effective to use. So it may actually surprise some of you to discover that every employee is in fact a person in their own right, with their own personal digital lives. They go online to do their shopping, watch YouTube videos, pay taxes, and doom scroll social media. In other words, they're all consumers of digital services. Now, as consumers, we have a pretty good idea, all of us, what makes for a good user experience, whether an app or a site looks good, whether it's easy to understand and to use, or if it feels fast and responsive. We also have very high standards when it comes to UX in our personal lives. Research shows that consumers are breathtakingly quick to abandon a service we perceive as slow, frustrating, or unintuitive. That's why providers of consumer-facing digital services pour a lot of time and money into understanding the wants and needs of their end users and polishing up the experience accordingly. They know that they're not going to get that monthly subscription money out of you without providing a first-class UX. So, if we're all such connoisseurs of user experience as consumers, why does that change as soon as we find ourselves in the workplace? Now, enterprise systems have a bit of a reputation for being hard to use, and in many cases, that is a well-earned reputation. But why haven't providers of digital services for employees put as much time and effort into polishing their UX as their consumer-grade ones do? And really, it's all a matter of incentives. As consumers, each individual holds the power of the purchasing decision themselves. So if a service doesn't feel good to use, they won't spend money on it. That changes when those individuals become employees. The purchasing decision is made by their CTO or their IT manager instead, and they don't necessarily care about whether a system has good user experience. Enterprise users, in effect, are a captive audience, and great. A gold-plated consumer-grade UX is wonderful to have, but do you know what's better? Keeping your job. So it follows that providers of enterprise systems are incentivized to devote their time to things which are more attractive to those decision makers, rather than taking the time to understand the needs of actual users. So it's worth pointing out that most of the tasks we're looking to complete in enterprise services are a lot more complex than their consumer-grade equivalents. As a consumer, most of my user journeys consist of watching 80s music videos and buying halloumi cheese online. However, a typical enterprise user journey could be anything from relationship management and logging sales leads all the way up to outlining technical specs for national infrastructure. As a rule, a UX feels better the less you have to think, and the more you can do just based on immediate recognition and intuitive understanding. Unfortunately, we can't always avoid thinking at work, so our perception of the user experience will necessarily suffer as a result. So we've clarified what enterprise UX is, and we understand why it tends to be a bit of an afterthought. So why am I here, and why do we care about enterprise UX at all? Well, enterprise UX is important because it directly impacts business performance. All enterprise platforms have a UX, we can't avoid that, and if it's bad, then that comes with an implicit business cost. And if we take the time to do it well, then it presents opportunities for better performance too. So what do I mean by this? It's probably best explained through an example. And we can take one of the simplest and most common examples to illustrate the case of the drop-down menu, or also known as the select control. Say, for example, we're capturing details about a sales opportunity. Our scenario is that we're entering details about a conversation we might have had with a prospective client. And we decide that when we enter the opportunity data into the system, we also want to capture details about the type of product our customer is interested in. So let's suspend judgment just for a second and imagine we've completely ignored user experience for this task. We've taken those database values for all of the different Oracle products we have in the database, and we've just thrown them into a drop-down to choose from. So what can we see when we try to use this drop-down? Well, firstly, we can see that the list of options is far too long. So our user has to scroll up and down, spending far too much time scanning the list to find that option that they're looking for. When we find this kind of issue during research, what we typically observe with users is that they'll simply select the first option which kind of matches, close enough, rather than a precise match. And we'll often lapse into selecting a nothing option or a get out clause just to make sure that required field is populated, like not applicable or other, if that's available. The second thing we notice is that the options are full of jargon and technical terminology. This might not be appropriate for our sales user, who may not have spent time studying the technical documentation for all those product definitions. If the user doesn't even understand what they're looking at, this makes it even less likely that they'll take the time to figure out the right option. So where can we see a business impact from this admittedly small and relatively common UX problem? Well, first of all, we can see that the user is going to find it hard to select the right value, meaning that the data quality of our opportunities is impacted. When we come to report on sales performance down the line, we won't be able to produce accurate insights on the kinds of opportunity we might be performing well or badly on, potentially missing out on business or even letting weaknesses in our offering go unrecognized. Downstream in the process, once those opportunities turn into contracts, hopefully, we don't have an accurate picture of the products involved, so we won't be able to accurately forecast for resource allocation or plan for the skills mix that we'll need for that project. We can't proactively identify the challenges where we might struggle to resource an upcoming project either. Secondly, we can see that it's going to take the user a little bit longer than it should to complete this process. Now, that might not be too big a problem in this case, but where we've got those high volume use cases like back office data entry, that additional time results in efficiency losses. So clearly, this is a really simple example, but the point here is that across a whole enterprise system, multiplied across a whole workforce, these impacts really do add up, and they can result in lost business and poor efficiency of use. But the inverse is also true. So spending some time to understand our users' needs and their preferences means we can design frictionless, intuitive experiences which promote high data quality and great efficiency in use. Back to you, Andy.
Brilliant. Thank you, Dan. It's really interesting to have a practical example and then consider the downstream impacts of completely ignoring user experience in the application. Continuing the theme of enterprise UX, I'm delighted to introduce our next guest now on the line from the US. I'm delighted to have Hillel Cooperman here to talk specifically about Oracle's Redwood UX design framework. Hi, Hillel. Thanks for joining.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored to be here, and especially with you, Andy, and with Boxfusion in general.
Thanks, Hillel. So firstly, I think it'd be great if you could tell us about the background to Redwood UX design and I guess your role in that process.
Yeah, no, I mean, I appreciate the opportunity, and we feel really lucky to have a partner like Boxfusion work with us on making sure that we have customers that are getting just absolutely excellent implementations. And at the end of the day, the way our customers, our shared customers, interact with our technology is through the user experience. And I think years ago, Oracle realized that there was a gap between sort of the standard user experience for enterprise software and kind of the experience that end users were having with consumer software.
Hmm.
The experiences they're having on their phones, their $1,000 supercomputers that are in their pockets. And I think there was this sort of conceit in enterprise software that, well, enterprise software is more difficult, it's more complicated, the scenarios are more complex, and therefore the software has to be more difficult to use. And I think Oracle was the first company to say, I'm not sure we agree with that. And they invited me to come help be a part of not just the invention of a new design system and a new platform, but really a cultural change. You don't, and that was kind of the premise we discussed. I said, look, you don't deliver something fundamentally different by doing it the same way, just with one, a new person showing up. The whole company has to change its cultural outlook in order to change the fundamental output. You're not just putting a new coat of paint on things. And they agreed, much to my surprise. And it was one of the most delightful things about coming to Oracle, that this sort of open-mindedness, this growth mindset, this eagerness, this humility that I had not been anticipating and expecting, and found to be really refreshing, and was a great fertile ground on which we could grow together and learn how to make a great user experience for enterprise software. And just to be clear, it's not my place to say whether we're achieving this, but our aspiration is to make the best technology user experience in the industry, period. Not the best enterprise technology user experience, but the best one, period. Where even consumer software companies are looking at Oracle's user experiences and saying, oh, wow, that's the new bar.
Fantastic. Yeah. Thank you. And I guess you touched there on some of the reasons Oracle were making that investment, but can you maybe talk to us a little bit about some of the challenges that what Oracle are looking to solve and that you've been looking to solve?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think that, fundamentally at Oracle, we're not looking to just, there's this great book about a restaurant in New York called Danielle, called The Fourth Star, when they were trying to get their fourth New York Times star. I think I'm quoting it right. Their
Hmm.
fourth New York Times star, and it was the first one of the first restaurants that was doing haute cuisine, like super high end French cuisine, but doing 300 covers a night, 300 like seatings a
Mm.
night. And I kind of try to think of us that way sometimes. I don't know, maybe that's a a prideful comparison. So maybe I shouldn't make that comparison, but certainly aspirationally, like we are trying to do really polished, high-end, consumer-grade user experiences, but at an incredibly large scale, both in terms of sophistication of the scenarios and in terms of the breadth and depth of the software that we make. We are our whole premise is we have everything you need in the back office, in the front office, in your specific industry. And so to create a design system and user experience platform that really scales to all these different use cases, right? And yet feels, so it scales and yet feels bespoke. So that if you are in a CX scenario, you don't feel like you're getting some, UI that was really meant for something else, but repurposed for you and just, slightly tweaked. No, it feels bespoke for your scenario. And because at the end of the day, I think our challenge is not just making a user interface that lets you do your job as an expert in what you do, but it's one that lets you feel good after doing your job. That's what we focus on, not just the sort of functional value, but the emotional aspect of you doing your job. I mean, we're human beings, and we're not robots. We're not just at the end of the day like, how efficient was I? It's like, how did I feel at the end of the day, spending all that time at work using the tools that I was given by my employer to do my job? Did I feel seen? Did I feel respected? Did I feel effective? Did I feel like the tools got in my way or helped elevate me so that I wasn't fighting with the tools, but they were lifting me up so I could really focus on the things where I add value. So that challenge of scale and depth and maintaining quality, I think, is one of the biggest that we have, and one that I think we aspire to meet every day. And I'm really proud of the work that we're doing. And I'll add one more thing on that. The key ingredient there is discerning customers and discerning partners, frankly, like Box Fusion, like partners and customers that don't settle for good enough. Partners and customers that say, look, uh, we love this. This is great, and this thing needs work, and then work with us. Design is iterative, creative problem solving. That's what it is. And iterative means you don't always get it right on the first try. You learn as you go. And so we only learn from our customers and our partners. And I know you feel the same way. And so to have customers and partners with an incredibly high bar is what holds us accountable and makes sure that we are really nailing the details over time. And that's something I'm really delighted to put into practice every day here at Oracle.
Thank you. That's amazing to get that insight, I think, into the standards that you're holding there at Oracle, and that's great to hear. I guess finally, is there anything you'd add in terms of how you feel Oracle's differentiating from other enterprise user experiences, I guess?
Sure. Look, I mean, it's not my place to comment on them, but what I would direct your attention to the following things. The first we already discussed, which is our relentless focus on sort of consumer grade or better. I don't think we have this conceit that just because it's enterprise, it needs to be worse. I think that's kind of a cop out. The second thing is, I think that we have a focus on and a posture on, instead of users having to figure out how our system works, our system adapting itself to how users work and speak, with really a deep focus on language and conversation, right? So you don't learn our taxonomy and our nomenclature, we learn yours. And we do that with, AI and generative AI and machine learning, and making better recommendations over time, and just really having the first day of the system being the day it starts learning from you, the user, and getting better over time. I think we've earned a reputation as the company that is best at storing your data. And so I think we are working hard to also earn the reputation of being the company that's best at searching and finding your data and also visualizing your data. And then finally, I would say the platform we deliver to you to customize and extend our applications as well as build your own is the very same platform. And you know this because you're our partner, is the very same platform we use to build it. So we're not giving you a subset of the tooling and APIs and services and libraries that we use. We're literally giving you the exact same platform that we use. And so all the power that we have to build our applications is available to you on day one. And I think that's a beautiful way to hold us accountable, but it's also means that you're not getting a watered down version of the capabilities. You're getting every bit of flexibility. Although I'm going to work very hard to minimize the amount of customization you need to do and make sure that out of the box, it meets your needs as much as possible. And that, where you do need to do that customization, it's just very targeted and exactly what you need to really adapt to your specific business needs.
100%. Thanks so much, Hillel. It's been an absolute privilege to have you join us today. Thank you for spending that time and giving us the benefit of your insights and expertise. I really appreciate it.
Of course, thank you so much for the opportunity, and I hope everyone has a really good experience. And I'm just really delighted to be here. So thanks for the opportunity.
Amazing. Thanks. Now we're going to quickly roll a video just to introduce that award-winning Redwood user experience that Hillel's been talking to us about. Give a taster of the results of all this great work. Fantastic. So having looked at the enterprise UX side at a high level, and also looking at what Oracle have done with their Redwood UX design framework, now we wanted to get back to some of the themes that we touched on at the beginning of today. So the impacts that poor user experience can have on sales teams and wider sales experience. To do that, I'm delighted to welcome a couple of fantastic panelists here today. So I have Gavin Dimmock and Darren Nisbet. Welcome, guys.
Thank you. Delighted to be here.
Thank you. I guess it'd be good to do a quick introduction, maybe your current role and a little bit about your experience. So maybe start with you, Darren.
Great. I'm Darren Nisbet. I started my sales career right out of university at a company called Ceridian, and then went to PTC, which is kind of a tough sales school. Founders of Medic, people will know that. I ended up at Oracle, spent 10 years there, thoroughly enjoyed that. And I'm currently chief executive at Virtuoso, a QA and testing company.
Brilliant. Thank you. And Gavin?
Gavin Dimmock. I'm chief revenue officer at a Norwegian private equity-owned organisation called Paperfly. I too have had a long career in Oracle, just about 20 years. I've done a number of private equity portfolio leadership roles and founded a European business for a US software company as well that's VC backed. So probably so far as this conversation's concerned, used too many tools I'd like to mention, but happy to share experiences.
Perfect. Thank you both. And yeah, that experience is what I want to get into now. So I guess my first question to sort of kick off the conversation, what do you think the biggest obstacles are and challenges that you've seen for sales teams when working with sort of CRM, CX applications?
Okay.
I'd put it under an umbrella of it's just got to be useful.
Mm-hmm.
And that usefulness got to serve many masters. But I'd probably break it down into two things. One, it's got to be usable. There's no point having a tool that nobody really wants to use and kind of all of the UX experience and CX experience that goes with that. And the second thing is it's got to be able to have accurate data. And that level of data quality has, you know, if it's not there, rubbish in, rubbish out, which kind of reminds me of a wonderful phrase from one of my favorite films that Mark Twain quotes at the beginning of a film called The Big Short, which is, it's not what you don't know that gets you into trouble. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so. And that's generally around the data.
Mm-hmm.
So it's critical that that's accurate. So those two things for me.
Great, yeah, and I can see how they're linked. Yeah, if a tool's not useful, then the data's, yeah,
It's
not
just
gonna-
never going to be.
Darren, any thoughts?
I think CRM evolved through into CX, and there's a lot of stakeholders involved in it today, whereas it used to be just a tool for salespeople to help them do their job. The world changed. We suddenly have alliances, we have finance, we have RevOps, sales ops, customer success, customer enablement, all these people wanting to pull from your CX, your CRM system, and therefore it's become incredibly complex. And we've probably lost sight of what it was targeted to do to start with, which is help salespeople sell. And I'd probably ask people who are looking for a new solution today, how often or how important are the salespeople's perspective on that? There's probably lots of stakeholders buying, but really they lose sight of the people that put the data in that's really useful.
And it should be the first app you open up in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Monday morning through to Friday morning, it needs to be the first app, because that's the thing about your customers and your prospects. Forget email or Slack or anything else. Get into the guts of that.
What do you think some of the reasons are why this hasn't happened? Why salespeople aren't using CRM every day, or why there are these obstacles? And
I don't think the salesperson gets enough out of them.
Mm.
I think fundamentally people won't use something unless they feel it's of benefit to them. And then the second aspect is, a lot of the time it feels like people are just marking their work. Right, have you done this? Have you done that? Can you do this? Can you do that? Only today I put in a diary entry into all the salespeople at Virtuoso's diary to say, update your forecast for this quarter. Feels a bit dictatorial. So unless the salesperson's getting benefit and it's useful, they probably won't want to use it.
I think, just to build on that, it's from a sales rep's perspective seen as a management inspection tool for all of these reasons. And I've been as guilty as anybody about kind of, you know, to building that myth as well. So it's coming back to that usefulness, and it's no longer, you know, CRM in the past was a look in the rearview mirror of what happened. It was just a record of what happened. I went to see a customer, they bought this product, whatever it was. It's all in the past. And the smart managers and the smart sales reps, as well as being able to make sure the data's, you know, clean, healthy, sufficient, so that we can achieve what we need to for our customers, is that it's captures now everything. And the right CRM system or CX system should be able to capture everything from that prospect experience all the way through to that renewal experience on that customer journey. So what happened in the past, but also importantly, what's going to happen in the future with whatever degree of predictability. And I think that's where the smart people engage with it. And to do that, you've got to have a sophisticated, usable tool.
There's another aspect to that as well, just building on that, what Gavin just said. We have entrants into the workplace today who are very familiar with very usable devices and applications. They don't want to use legacy applications that are clunky and difficult to use. They want something intuitive that they like to use and they get something back. They're also pretty fickle, consumers today, because consumers are now in the B2B place. And what they will do is they'll choose what's best for them. And they'll want to use other tools around it and integrate easily, etc. If you lose that, actually the market, the entrance into the workplace today, you're going to use all usability from your CRM system, because you aren't going to get any data that's useful in there.
And you know, as a CRO, when you join a new company, the first thing you do, go, let me take a look at the CRM. And if that's not the same as the one that you're used to, you might want to throw that out and replace it. And you're only going to replace it because you can't maximize the use of it. It's not familiar, it's not usable, and it's not intuitive.
Yeah.
And that's quite often a scenario we get into as well.
And so the couple of themes I noted there. So if something's not intuitive, then as you've got these new entrants coming in, then people, I presume, are then just not adopting the tool. They'll take a look at it, they won't be able to figure it out. You don't get training to use Amazon and
No.
Right.
Yeah.
Apple. You navigate around. But if I guess, have you got experience of seeing the impacts then of, I guess, people needing training and then not adopting the platform after that, the application after that?
It's one of the biggest issues from a CX perspective, is a lack of training. And clearly when you have turnover of staff as well, it's the maintaining and consistency of keeping people abreast of the functionality and what's required. So it's a key aspect to it that's often overlooked.
Great. So one of the themes, I think, of our session today has been the importance of user experience, and I think one of the things that can drive a reduction is the need for expensive training courses and repeat training courses for people coming in. Something else I wanted to go back to that picked up on, I think, was this misalignment, I guess, between the sales rep and sales management and what they're expecting out of a tool. I guess if there's a misalignment there, how do you think we can kind of close that misalignment between sales management and users of CRM CX applications?
For me, it's usually about the why. So why is this important? Why is the data quality important? And what the benefit to the individual is of, imagine a world where all of this data was pre-populated, where it was accurate, where it captured everything that your prospect or customer is trying to engage with you, that automates a forecast for you, as opposed to kind of a finger in the air. Imagine a world where all of that happens. What is your role in that, and what's the benefit for you? You can be more productive. You can spend more customer face time. You can do less admin tasks. And these are all kind of great phrases to use for salespeople, because that's what they're asking for. But they have a key role to play in that as well. They can't just sit back and just expect the CRM fairies to kind of, make that happen. So I think if you can explain the why and encourage people, then you're kind of halfway there.
Yeah.
And I think we're ready for next generation as well, right? I mean, AI is the hot topic at the moment, but we're trialing some technology that just records your meetings. Most meetings are done via Zoom, Teams, etc. today, and it's remarkably good. It summarizes the meeting, and you can upload that direct into your CRM system. If a salesperson starts to see that sort of data that they can leverage, and maybe the CX system can then suggest follow-up, case studies, timing, etc., it starts to assist them in their work. And that's when this will get really interesting, and people will want to log on in the morning, as Gavin says, because they'll want to know what they should be doing and be led somewhat by the application that they're using.
Yeah, I totally agree. So it's like, for any group of users of any tool, what are they being tasked with day to day? What's their job, and how do we give them a tool that helps them do their job rather than is seen as an obstacle and something that's getting in the way of them actually going out selling?
Yeah, you could probably walk into 9 companies out of 10, and when is CRM updated? Well, it's Friday afternoon, because it's seen as an admin task, because Friday afternoons is when you do admin. And we've got to have, as an industry, and I think as leaders, but also with some of the tools that we use, we've just got to shift that perception. This is not an admin task. This is going to help you be more successful, more productive, removing admin tasks, not create more. But there's a lot on sales leadership as much as there is on sales executives to be able to do so.
Yeah, that leads me on to another question, another area I wanted to get your thoughts on. So in your experience, Do you feel that these CRM applications reporting capabilities provide the sort of useful insights that help sales professionals do their job, and I guess help sales leaders get insights and understand, pipeline, etc.?
No to the former and yes to the latter. And I think there are so many tools out there. You just do a quick search on Salesforce reporting, CRM reporting, it'll all come out. There's so many, right? But they're all specifically aimed at the management layer, not at anything from an individual perspective. There's many ways of dicing the information, bringing it back and presenting it, and that's what management want. But the actual individual contributors aren't getting anything that I can see.
I tend to look at this in two areas. So one is leading and lagging indicators. And I think, again, reporting, which is why kind of these tools tend to get a bit of a bad rap. That the reporting that's done is looking in that rearview mirror. It's what happened. And I'm kind of less interested in what happened, unless there's particular interesting insights that can be gained. I'm far more interested in the leading indicators. What I really want to get out of this is who's going to buy some stuff as new customers, which of our current customers are going to buy some more stuff, upsell, cross-sell, and then where is any risk that may exist that's going to prevent a customer from renewing, i.e. trying to identify things like churn or things like NPS score, which are a contributory factor to things like churn. And that's not just information that is captured by a manager or a rep. That's engagement data that then gets stored in this centralized system of record. So if I take an approach of that leading and lagging indicators, less interested in lagging, really interested in leading, and the automation that can be driven out of a modern day system now, particularly making use of AI and large language models to drill out that information to give you a really high degree of accuracy, is it just takes all the legwork out and the pain of really trying to best guess or whatever formula you've got to come up with things like forecasts.
But these tools need good data, right? The garbage in, garbage out analogy's never been truer than in the world of generative AI, I guess.
Completely. And who's the best source of data? Actually, your prospect or customer. And if you can capture that at source, capture that first party, and make sure that's incorporated and it's got a high weighting, then that's, you're on the right road there.
I read a stat, I think 79% of information coming from customers never recorded. It's lost.
Yeah.
And much of that may not be useful, but I'm sure some of it is very useful. So we're not capturing the information we need to leverage better results. And that's at both the individual contributor and at management level.
Yeah. I can totally believe that from my experience as well. I guess just to sort of wrap up the conversation, I wondered if some of the themes that we've discussed today, do you feel in your current roles or your previous roles that one of the impacts can be, this is a very leading question, that you as leaders spend too much time on admin and internal facing things and less than you would prefer to be spending on, I guess, coaching your team, external strategy, market insights, etc.?
Yes. A simple answer.
Yeah, seconded. Yeah.
No, I think that there's a lot of information flowing around. Making use and sense of that is critical, but often it's very difficult because it's not structured data. It's come from different sources. It isn't accurate. It's not up to date. It's only there on Fridays. It's not there the rest of the week. It's not mobile data. So leveraging that can be a challenge at times. And I suspect on a weekly basis, I'm looking for some information that isn't quite correct. And I have to go and ask questions about that doesn't feel right. So, and that obviously takes me away from things that I think are more important. I want that data to be accurate at my fingertips, and I can trust it. And wherever I've been, it's very, very rare you get that state.
But I think, and just to build on that statement then, Darren, I think come back to my Mark Twain quote about, it's not what you don't know, it's that what you know for sure is just not so. Data's great, and it gives you a lens into your business, and it's a really powerful lens, but it's not the only one. And I think don't lose, from a sales leader perspective, or even a sales exec, sales rep perspective, don't lose that element of, call it intuition or call it just experience. Layer the two on top, and you layer them on top to either reaffirm a particular point that data's given you, or to be able to challenge the data to try and drive a better, more accurate outcome. And it's just not following, certainly for me, not following the data blindly.
Yeah.
By all means follow it, but give it a poke.
Fabulous. Is there anything else you'd wanted to add? Because we're coming to the end of our time together, and I've really appreciated your insights and your time. But if there's anything else that you wanted to add as a closing
I think
remark.
it's an interesting time for CX. There's a lot of new technologies surrounding the sales cycle and the sales process and methodologies, sales enablement. There's a lot of interesting, exciting, young technologies coming through that need to be adapted and adopted and integrated into your whole CX proposition. And I think that'll be an interesting place over the next couple of years. There's some great stuff. And if I was back selling, I think I'd love to be using some of these tools.
Completely agree. Absolutely.
Fabulous. Thank you very much, Darren, Gavin, for joining me today. It's been fabulous. And wish you a good day.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so the final part of our webinar today, we wanted to take some of the themes that we've been discussing and look at how Oracle has been addressing some of those within its Redwood sales experience. The best person to do that is joining us from the US now, the driving force behind Oracle's Redwood sales experience, John Vakoch. Over to you, John.
Hi, thank you, Andy. My name is John Vakoch. I'm the Vice President of Product Development with our Sales and Revenue Capture. I wanted to build on some of the themes that we've talked about here and take you through some of the new features that we've released in Redwood Sales. Right now, I'm in our system logged in as a sales manager. And one of the ways sales managers can start their day is by looking at our new Express Reports tool. Our Express Reports tool is really designed to provide BI authoring for the layman, for the sales manager or the sales rep, so they can come in here. Now I'm going to look at my team's opportunities. And then as a sales manager, when this comes in, it's going to query for all the opportunities on my team, generate a visualization based on the reps. I have 2 reps on my team, Brandon and Jane, and I can see the opportunity revenue pipeline for them. I can see a detailed report of that. Of course, I can drill down on the opportunity. I can drill down on the account and get to the additional details. And so this is one of the ways that we see sales managers starting their day that's new with the Redwood. But the real power of this express reporting is in the ability to create custom reports. It's no longer the domain of an IT administrator having to come in. I can very easily create a report, call it my opportunity team. And then I pick the object that I want to work on. We've got a number of them enabled. Opportunities is one of the main ones that we see sales managers wanting to build their own reports on. I'll click create on that and I get a preview. Now, when I come in here, this doesn't see any data. I'm logged in as a sales manager. I don't have opportunities for myself. So let's take a look at this filter. We can see that it is saying opportunities that I own. Well, I'm going to click on that and I want to change this to opportunities that my team owns or my subordinates own. And I'll click apply. And then in real time, I can see the data update for this report that I have. And we've defaulted a number of fields that you might want to see in here. I've got the sales stage, the opportunity name, the account name. And of course, we can adjust the labels on here by going into the preferences and adjusting field labels. So if I need to put a field label on there, I can do that. Then let's look at the groups on this too. I want to group my report by the team. So I can go over here to the groups. I'm going to pick a field that I want. In this case, I'm going to choose my team, and then I can get an additional grouping where I can see the reports broken down by sales stage and team member, so I can see the different opportunities that we have. I want to add a chart on this report too, and that's very easy to do. By default, we've looked at the report and we see it broken down by sales stage. Now maybe I want to break it down by team, so I can change the categorization that I have on here. Let's change the x-axis to my team, and then maybe this categorization by sales stage. Then I can see for each team member the breakdown of the opportunities that I have by sales stage. And so Express Reports is one of the great ways that a sales manager can start their day. We have another one, and for that, I'm going to go home and I'm going to switch the user as a sales rep. So let me sign out real quick and sign back in as a sales rep. The second tool that we have is our sales dashboard. Our sales dashboard is another great way to start the day. One of the ideas behind sales dashboard is, can we remove that moment of cognitive burden where sales reps are saying, what do I want to do? What object, what database schema do I need to work with? And they start thinking accounts, contacts, leads, opportunities, activities. Sales Dashboard brings all that information together in one unique view with a global search that I can search across all of my sales objects. I've got a faceted metric-based dashboard. In other words, I'm looking at my to-dos and I can see a number of components showing me tasks that are due, upcoming appointments, overdue tasks. I can click on the opportunity pipeline, see my opportunities that are coming up to close, see lonely opportunities, those at risk, data coming in from our BI system, from the Express reports, or from visualizations that we've built in App Composer. And of course, I can drill down into the opportunity from here. But before I drill down into an opportunity, which is a common way a sales rep is going to begin their day from the sales dashboard, I want to just go back, and right there is something that's very powerful in the Redwood experience. Native browser back buttons work. And so throughout the sales experience in Redwood, anytime you need to go back, no longer do we have to build complex controls in the application. Just like any consumer-grade application, you can hit the browser's back button. I'm going to start here though for my next thing because I want to show you an account view on the list, a very powerful feature that we've added on accounts. Here I'm looking at accounts that are in my territory, and I want to go into this Redline Hosting Corporation account. And right away, the system has detected that this is a duplicate and said, you're not looking at the main account. You might want to use Redline Hosting and not Redline Hosting Corp, even though I have opportunities from this. And quickly from here, I can correct my action and get to the main account or the primary in this group of duplicates. That means I can have duplicate accounts without having to go through the costly and potentially irreversible process of merging them. I can have soft merges and group my accounts together. Now, in looking at the account view and Redline Hosting, there's a couple of things that jump out at the Redwood experience. The first one is all of the information that's available here without additional clicks. I can see my leads, I can see details in the account hierarchy, opportunities, quotes and orders from the mid-office, subscriptions. And if I scroll to the right, I can see assets, invoices coming from the accounts receivable system or the back office, service requests, and the contacts on this account, my sales team, and more. So I can drill into any of these panels to view additional information. Let's look at the account hierarchy. The account hierarchy is showing the view of Redline Hosting, and I can see in a tabular or a chart-based view that this is part of a hierarchy. Redline Hosting is a child of Redline Technologies, and I can navigate from that hierarchy view to Redline Technologies, and there I see that this has 4 children, Redline Hosting being the one I came into this view from. With the tabular view too, we've got roll-ups, so I can see not only the view of the hierarchy, but also the view of opportunities and leads and interactions that I have across this hierarchy. So I can see, well, Redline Hosting itself has 45 opportunities open for $16 million, but having a bigger view of the full hierarchy helps me better target my sales efforts to this account. Second thing that's very prominent in the Redwood user experience is something that you don't see on the screen, which is a lack of buttons everywhere. We have this intuitive action bar, a conversational based experience where I can put the focus in and we're going to suggest some of the actions that you're likely to take, whether it's to create an opportunity for this account that we're looking at, create a contact, quote, note on that. And all I have to do is think, what is it that I want to do? Maybe I want to change the address. So I can start typing a field name like address, and I can see show address, show email addresses, update addresses, and be able to quickly make a change to the address on this account right here in line without having to navigate anywhere else. Separately, if I want to navigate anything, I can see a couple of my opportunities. I can see that there's 24. Obviously, I can click that view all opportunities, but maybe I want to look at opportunities to show me some more information. What are all the different show commands that I have on here? And then I can further filter that down with opportunities and navigate into the opportunities from there. So the action bar, by thinking of how I would conversationally engage with the system, will take me through all the actions that I can do with the Redwood experience. Just think of the verb that I want to do, show, update, change, edit. We understand synonyms, or the noun, the thing that I want to work on, address or opportunities, and it will take me there into that system. I'm going to drill into an opportunity here. We'll look at this switch controller install, and let's take a look at opportunities in the Redwood experience. It follows the same experience of that Redwood layout with these panels showing all the related information on the opportunity. But there's two key things that I really want to highlight on the opportunity here. In addition to the standard information of products and contacts and any quotes that I've created, this is an early stage opportunity and qualification, so I don't need to have quotes in the team. I have two panels here that can help me see some of the guidance. What are the recent activities I've done on this opportunity? And what is the recommended cadence of activities I should do to help advance this according to my sales plays and my sales methodology? This new guidance panel is part of a system that we call orchestration. Orchestration is going to take me through working this opportunity step by step, kind of demystifying the art of sales and bringing it into more of a science. I can see the objectives for this stage of an opportunity to contact the customer, set up discovery, confirm decision makers, confirm the reason for customer interest. And one of the first steps then is to set up the discovery appointment. And I can do that right from here and schedule the appointment in the opportunity, build that up. I'll set this for the future here. I'll set it into May 24th and save that appointment. Then we analyze and say, what is the next step of the opportunity? That is to conduct the discovery call. And I can build that step in here. For everything in sales, I might be doing it outside the system, so I always have the ability to skip that step if it's not relevant. I can mark it as complete, or I can perform the action and log the call right from within the sales system. Now, these are just a few of the exciting enhancements that we have in Redwood, and I'd like to turn it back over to you, Andy.
Brilliant. Thanks so much for joining us, John. That was really interesting and a great way to wrap things up. Getting just a quick look at one or two of the aspects of a Redwood sales experience hopefully really helps people to see how focusing a little more on user experience and the way that people want to work can drive out a great solution for salespeople. We're now at the end of the session, so I want to firstly thank all of the guest speakers today for their inputs and their insights, and close by saying that you can reach out to us after this event using any of the links on the screen. We'd be delighted to show you more of the Redwood sales experience or talk about how we focus on UX to bring out more from your CRM and CX investment. Thank you.